the summary of Smarter, Faster, Better by Charles Duhigg. So let's dive right into the introduction. You will learn important concepts in this book, which will increase the productivity and potential for success for your team. They are innovation, people management, goal setting, focus, teamwork, and motivation. You will also learn ways on how to upgrade your own skills. You will learn interesting stories about the creativity behind the movie Frozen, about the culture of trust at Toyota. You will also learn about effective goal setting from General Electric and excellent teamwork from Google. Are you excited to make you and your team smarter, faster, and better? All you need is in this book. Innovation. The biggest source of creativity for a person is his own life. Our emotions and feelings help us recreate our personal experiences into works of art and innovative products. Steve Jobs once said that creativity means to make connections between different things. When people pay attention to how things make them feel, they can create good innovation. After watching the first draft of the movie Frozen, the film's director, Chris Buck, had a meeting with the whole team to discuss feedback. The story at the time was very different from the one that was finally released. One by one, the team members started pointing out flaws in the storyline. The flaws mostly deal with the fact that there were not enough emotions in the film. The audience would not feel connected. Aside from this, there were also logical gaps in the story. The negative feedback did not come as a surprise to Buck. His team knew that there was something off about the movie. But the team only had 18 months to change the storyline and finish the whole movie. This was a problem of doing innovation when there was a deadline approaching. After a lot of discussions, Jennifer Lee, one of the writers, asked everyone to stop thinking about what is not working and start thinking about what they want to see on the screen. Some members said that Frozen was exciting because the movie empowered girls, while others said it was good because two sisters came together. Thinking this way, people started coming up with their personal experiences with siblings, about growing up, and so on. One such incident is when the songwriters Bobby and Kristen Lopez were walking in a park. Kristen asked Bobby how he would feel if he was Elsa, who was being judged for who you are. Such questions made them think back to their life incidents in which they felt judged by other people. The songwriters concluded that a person should not be judged for not being perfect. Elsa should not apologize for being flawed. She has a curse which she had no control over. So what should Elsa do after feeling so hated by everyone all her life? She should just let it go. She should not care for anyone or anything. And that is when the songwriters Bobby and Kristen Lopez wrote the famous Frozen theme song, Let It Go. It fits so perfectly with the plot that when the whole team read the lyrics, they automatically started putting together all the pieces they had formed from their own past experiences. As we all know, Frozen became a major international hit. This example shows us how people can use experiences to become more creative and innovative. Managing others. An atmosphere of trust inside a company is vital for success. A firm's culture matters as much as its strategy. If employees do not trust each other, even great products and loyal customers cannot stop the company from failing. Also, it is important to allow people who are closest to the problem to solve it. A person with the highest authority cannot understand lower-level issues as good as the lower-level workers can. So instead of coming up with the solution himself, the big boss should allow the more knowledgeable people to take responsibility. Rick Madrid had worked at the old General Motors plant in Fremont, California for 27 years. Fremont was known as the worst auto factory in the world. During that time, there was a lot of drinking at work. Everybody did whatever they pleased, and the workers knew that they would not get in trouble as long as they produced the required number of cars at the end of the day. Rick Madrid was just there to earn money. He did not care for the quality of the job. After all, General Motors just wanted to get as many cars produced as possible. When employees saw mistakes on the car, they would not stop the conveyor belt so they could fix the problem. They would just mark the vehicle so it could later be taken to the back lot and repaired. This was because all the employees were strictly forbidden from stopping the assembly line. The problem with this system was that repairs required breaking down the already made parts, fixing the error, then rebuilding them over again. This inefficient system wasted plenty of time and money. And the repaired error would still cause issues after a few years of the car being used by the customer. Rick Madrid claimed that the workers were only treated like gears in a machine. Everyone was there to do what they were told to do. The managers never asked for the employees' opinion or thoughts. Soon, GM had to shut down the Fremont plant. To reopen it, GM partnered with Toyota, the Japanese automaker, after 2 years. General Motors wanted to learn about the famous production system of Toyota that was able to produce high-quality cars at very low cost. Toyota wanted to sell their cars in the US through GM. Rick Madrid applied to GM when it was reopening and he got hired. He was sent to Japan to observe the Toyota production system. The first thing Madrid noticed was that when a mistake was discovered on the car, the conveyor belt was stopped until the error was fixed right then and there. The worker fixing the mistake became the one, while all his senior managers stood around him, waiting for his feedback. The line was only restarted after the repair had been completed. The next thing Rick Madrid noticed was that an employee can always suggest a new tool to the senior manager. They would work together to complete the design. The next day, everyone would have that tool on their stations. Madrid was told that the problems were always solved by the people closest to it. The issues are pushed to the lowest possible level. This showed Madrid how much each employee's opinion mattered. Toyota was able to make General Motors and itself successful in the United States by exporting its culture, goal setting. The key to staying determined is to have specific and high goals rather than vague and average goals. People who have big clear goals also have higher paying occupations. This great desire makes these achievers feel good about themselves. Clear goals help them to solve problems and make progress in life. This desire is known as cognitive closure. The more you have it, the better. The most valuable company in America in the 1980s was General Electric. They manufactured everything, including light bulbs, jet engines, refrigerators, and so on. Their secret to reaching that position is excellent goal setting. Every employee of GE was asked to clearly determine their goals for the following year and get them approved by his or her manager. These goals had to be SMART, which stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. If a goal was not according to SMART conditions, the employees had to redefine their goals until they were approved. The SMART culture unlocked the potential that people did not even know they had. This was because it forced people to have real, planned-out goals instead of unclear ones. The employees loved the SMART system. They said fulfilling goals gave them a real sense of accomplishment. But forcing people to determine their goals like this did not always mean everything ran smoothly. The tendency is that the employees choose easier tasks and get things done without really being creative. The owner of GE, Jack Welch, wanted his employees to think creatively. To achieve this, Jack Welch introduced the concept of stretch goals. They were goals that were so ambitious that initially nobody could describe how they would be achieved. If the employees knew how to achieve them, then they could not be considered as stretch goals. It is important to have both stretch goals and SMART goals. People familiar with SMART goals know about breaking big objectives into smaller parts. When they face objectives that are too large, like stretch goals, the GE employees know what to do. It helps put the impossible within reach. The combination of SMART goals and stretch goals led GE to be so successful. So many other companies and organizations adopted their practices. Focus. Automatic tools and machines have become a part of our everyday lives. The cars we drive have small computers installed everywhere for different purposes. When we have to go somewhere, we have automatic navigation systems in our phones. There are many other examples. We can all agree that automatic things have made our lives easier. But it also has a disadvantage. It has decreased the amount of attention we give to our tasks. When an automatic machine is doing the work, the person becomes complacent. If the automatic machine fails, the person's relaxed state is suddenly ended, and he is forced to bring his mind into focus. In this case, the person starts on what is directly in front of his eyes. This kind of state is called cognitive tunneling. In this following story, you will learn how important it is to do things manually because it improves our concentration and attention span. On 31st May 2009, Air France Flight 447 took flight from Rio de Janeiro for Paris. It was carrying 228 people on board. 4 minutes after taking off, the pilots activated the autopilot mode. For the next 10 hours, the plane should fly smoothly by itself. The plane was designed so that pilots did not have to make many decisions. But 4 hours later, the plane crossed the equator. There was a huge cloud of tropical storm ahead. The pilot tubes, which are used for measuring airspeed, suddenly became filled with ice crystals. This caused an unexpected decrease in the airspeed measurements. The plane's computers lost airspeed information, and the autopilot shut down by itself. The pilots, who were relaxed and drowsy at the time, immediately came back to their senses. The alarm shocked them all. Co-pilot Pierre Bonin realized that they had lost the auto mode, so to fix the problem, he took control of the command stick. Bonin was greatly disoriented from the sudden emergency. He pulled the command stick back, which made the plane's nose move upwards and rise 3,000 feet within 1 minute. When a plane cannot fly anymore because of its position and starts falling, it is called an aerodynamic stall. This situation is easy to overcome in the early stages by lowering the plane's nose a bit. But if the position remains too high, the aerodynamic stall causes the plane to drop. The atmosphere became thinner as Flight 447 went upwards. The recorded voice in the cockpit started giving warnings of an aerodynamic stall. The pilot tubes were still filled with ice crystals, so the pilots could not see their speed. According to the recorded conversations inside the cockpit, Bonin told his co-pilot that he would descend, but instead, he kept doing what he had done earlier. He kept pulling the command stick back, and the plane's nose kept moving upwards. This was because Bonin had entered a cognitive tunnel. His attention had been relaxed for the past 4 hours. Then suddenly, his mind searched for something to focus on. Bonin's focus fell onto the video monitor in front of him, which showed the position of the plane's wings. It is common for wings not to be always parallel to the ground. They may roll on one side or the other. However, when Bonin saw that the wings were rolled slightly to the right, he thought he needed to fix that, and so he kept pulling back on the command stick. Eventually, this led to the aeroplane falling fast into the ocean. Everyone died, including co-pilot Bonin. Teams. The general belief about teams is that its success depends on the skills of its members. If all of them are smart and hardworking, the team is sure to outperform everyone else. But the truth is, this is not always the case. The cooperation and culture shared by the team members are more important. It is what determines whether the team will be successful or not. These patterns within a team are called group norms. Group norms determine whether a member feels safe or threatened, motivated or discouraged by his teammates. The norms can be negative, like competition over leadership and criticism of others. But they can also be positive, like enthusiasm for others' ideas and encouraging people to take on a leadership role. Companies think they need superstars to succeed. This is only a myth, as research proves that a team of average performers can achieve everything that superstars can, if only they know how to interact properly. Google has been America's top workplace for 6 years. This is because they always make sure that employees are happy and productive. A study done by Google's Human Resources was codenamed Project Oxygen. This project was aimed at knowing why some managers were more effective than others. However, it did not work. This is because the survey showed that Google employees valued teamwork more than the competence of leaders. If the teamwork is good, the employees did not seem to care if the boss is effective or not. This made Google realize that they should focus on team functions instead of leadership. Their new mission was to find out what makes a high-performing team. This made Google start the next project called Project Aristotle. The researchers studied all kinds of literature, but they found that all of them said different things on what makes teams successful. So the researchers started asking Google employees themselves what they thought makes an effective team. When the researchers analyzed the data, they could not see proof that a team's success was based on the expertise of members. So they studied the data again and put their focus on the group norms. This time, the researchers found clear patterns that determine good teams. They found that it is cooperation, mutual trust, respect, and the feeling of belongingness among the members. The expert skills of each individual did not matter much. Motivation. Success in today's economy means knowing how and where to invest one's time and energy. If a person knows self-motivation, he can earn more money, lead a happier life, and be more satisfied with what he has. Although many people might not know this, motivation is a skill, just like reading and writing. One can learn it and improve it over time from practice and hard work. The trick to motivating ourselves is to know that we are the ones in control. One way to feel in control is to be able to make decisions, to have a choice. People want the freedom to choose, even if there is no end goal. At the University of Pittsburgh, an experiment was conducted, which showed how having the opportunity to choose makes people more motivated towards the activity they were doing. The researcher's name is Mauricio Delgado. Inside the fMRI machine, there was a plastic table on which the participants had to lie. There was a small computer screen on the side. The participants had to guess if the next number to be shown on the screen is greater than or lower than 5. They can do so by pressing some buttons. Then the number would appear on the screen and the participant could see if he guessed right or not. The fMRI machine was used to record activity inside their brain as they played this game. The participants were allowed to leave any time they wanted. Even if they lose, each participant kept guessing, sometimes for a few hours straight. After the game, a participant came up to the researcher and asked if he could take the game home. Delgado said that it was not possible as the game was only created for the experiment. He also revealed that the game was not entirely honest. It was designed so that everyone would win in the first round, lose the second round, and so on. Even after knowing this, the participants still insisted on playing it at home. This seemed odd to Delgado, and he could not help wondering why someone would want to play such a game where their choices had no impact on the outcome. And why did such a game keep so many people engaged? So Delgado did a new experiment with new participants. The only difference from the previous game was that half the time the participants had to guess the number, and on the other half, the computer had to guess for them. From the fMRI readings, Delgado saw that when the participants choose, the central dispatch of their brain will light up just like the previous experiment. But when the computer made guesses for them, the central dispatch of their brain was silent. It was as if the brain had become uninterested and bored in the exercise. On asking the participants, they admitted to Delgado that they enjoyed the game more when they were the ones to choose. When it was the computer's turn, the whole game felt like a routine task. This experiment concluded that the power of having a choice itself resulted in increased activity in the brain. No matter what the outcome was, and no matter if the participants lose, their motivation comes from the idea that they were in charge. Conclusion. In this book, you learned how to keep yourself motivated and driven towards your goals. You learned that having the power to make choices empowers people. You also learned about effective goal setting. You learned about SMART, which means specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. You can use SMART to break down bigger goals. You learned the importance of focus in the digital world. Do not leave it all to technology. Nothing beats the power of the human mind. You learned how to be innovative and how to create something new from what you already have inside. By reflecting on your experiences, you can make new connections and produce something original. You learned about teamwork and people management. If you are a leader, have trust in the abilities of your members. If you are a member, you should initiate cooperation with your colleagues. Believe in yourself and trust that there is nothing you cannot do. Take your past experiences and future probabilities. You can transform your life into anything you want. All you need is motivation, teamwork, focus, goal setting, and innovation. Once you have mastered these, you can unlock your full potential. So I hope you like the summary as well as our efforts behind it. And if you think we were able to create valuable content for you, you can show your love by giving us a review. Jai Hind.